What's it like to train a search and rescue dog? Well, let me tell you all about it. I adopted a dog who lost his previous home because he was dominant, pushy, overbearing, and he was kind of pestering his two other doggy siblings too much. So his family decided that he needed to go, unfortunately. So when he came into my life, he was a very, very busy golden retriever who had a lot of things that he was wanting to do and get into and take an interest in. So what I decided would be fun is to check out getting him into one of my lifelong bucket list things, which is search and rescue, teaching him to use scent work to find people who are lost out in the woods or in the mountains. So today I'm going to tell you all about my adventure with my buddy Duke to train him into a search and rescue dog. Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Leslie. My buddy Duke and I clicked it as a team almost immediately. He was just the sweetest, most loving guy who really had the best of intentions. He was just super busy. I put him into some obedience training, which he absolutely flew through. I have yet to meet a golden retriever that is not extraordinarily food and toy motivated, and those two things are the golden ticket to fast and effective training. When I heard that there was an opportunity with a local search and rescue group to try out for the team, I thought, hey, why not? They did all their own training of their handlers. All you had to do is show up and have a dog that had the right mindset to do it. So let me tell you, we showed up. We had so much fun. The testing process for the dog was that there was sort of a first obedience test where you were asked to do things like heel, sit, down, stay, and then you'd have to leave your dog for a few minutes and then see if they would stay where you put them and come back. So just basically you had to prove that you had control over your dog, and your dog had to prove that they weren't going to go and beat up another dog. And by that point in Duke's life, he was very socialized and he was kind, and he cared more about his tasty treats and his toy than he did about bugging any other dogs or handlers in the area. So we flew through that portion of the testing. The next part of testing was the search drive test. So they would take a ball or some sort of toy and they would toss it into a wooded tree line, kind of deep into some woods and bushes and tall grass. They toss it far enough that the dog couldn't see it, and you had to hold your dog while they threw it, and the dog could see them throw the item, and then you had to let your dog go. And what they wanted to see is, did your dog go after that toy with zest? Is your dog determined to find that toy and go play with it or bring it back? And in true retriever style, Duke went flying in there. He came out with 8 or 9 burrs on his beautiful golden coat, but he did not care. He wanted the toy, he wanted to come back, and then he wanted to find a bunch of people he could play with this toy because he wanted them to throw it again. So he also passed that test with flying colors. Is that the handler teams invited us out for a hike. A mountainside hike one Saturday morning, just to get to know everybody, and it gives them a chance to see how you and your dog interact, how you handle your dog, and real world, how do you know how to handle your dog. So yeah, it was a very awful fall, sort of half snowing, slushy, icy, wet day, and we went out somewhere out near Pincher Creek there. We went up, hiked up the side of a mountain, but Duke was an absolute prince. There were some other stronger kind of Belgian Malinois type dogs that were pretty bullyish towards him, but you know what? He didn't care. He was out having his walk and he's had his toy. Next thing was to meet one-on-one with some of the instructors, and they taught me how to teach him to use his nose and to start to teach him to learn the command word search. I selected a particular bumper. I think it was a Chuck-It, either a Chuck-It or a Kong toy, and that bumper only came out when we were going to do scent or search work. I would basically hold on to his collar. I would kind of tease him a little bit with the bumper, and I would then hold on to his collar for a half second and make sure he was watching when I threw it, and then I would let him go. And of course, he would fly across the garage, grab the bumper, and bring it back for more. That's like a retriever's pure heaven. I established that as what we do. I'm going to hold you. I'm going to throw the toy. You're going to grab it. And I'm going to praise you like crazy when you bring me this toy back. Gradually, I held him longer and longer. So I would throw the bumper, but hold his collar longer and longer, so that it would become less of him seeing where the bumper went and more like he would begin to start to need to use his nose to find the bumper, because he wouldn't always remember where exactly I'd thrown it. I would sort of have the bumper, I'd put him in the house, and I would take the bumper and I would just barely hide it behind like one small item, and in the general direction of where I would normally throw it. So he would kind of have a bit of an idea, an inclination as to where this bumper was. So once I had hidden it, I'd go back, I'd open the garage door and say, "Search!" And off he'd go. And you could hear that sniffer working hard from across the room, and he always found it. And every time he found it, we were so excited. We would kind of party with him and tug with the bumper a little bit and get him all fired up. And as soon as we were finished our search training with the bumper was put up where he couldn't play with it or see it or have it until the next search has happened. So that bumper became the focus of his joy and his passion, let me tell you. Increasingly, we would put the bumper higher up. I would get it off the floor, I would put it on top of the washing machine, or I would eventually I'd even put it up in a windowsill, because it's a bit of a shift for dogs with nose work to learn not just to check the ground. They're all hardwired from birth and they're used to looking for scent on the ground, but it takes something for them to learn to get their nose up and look upwards for that scent. So we transitioned to that, and he was an absolute rock star. And then it came time to go to friends' places. So I had a friend that had their own riding arena. So they graciously allowed me to go in there and use it. So I would go in there and fetch with the bumper with Duke a few times. And then I would have him go put him back out in my car. And then I'd go hide the bumper in this huge arena. I'd go get him. I'd bring him back in. I'd take his collar and I would let him know, "Hey, buddy, search." And let me tell you, he loved it. He would cover the whole space and he would not stop. He would not take a rest. He would just keep going and going until he found that bumper. And even my friends were just shocked and elated. It's just the most wonderful thing to watch a dog use their nose to find something. It's the most organic experience to see them work the way nature intended. And it's exhausting for dogs to search that intensely with their nose. So he would go home and drop, and he would sleep a good 12 hours after searching like that. The next step in the process is that that bumper ends up carried by a human after that. So we would show him the bumper, and I would have a friend or another handler take that bumper and show it to him and tease him, "Hey buddy, look what I've got, look what I've got." And I would hold his collar and that person would run and just step in behind something and just go out of sight. And of course, then I would say, "Search, buddy." He'd go. Now, he didn't realize the first several times he was looking for the human with the bumper. He was just looking for his toy, let's be honest. He would go, he would find that toy bumper, and the human that he was attached to the bumper would then tug with him and let him have it and party. And let me tell you, it's like a dog's Christmas morning. He could not be more thrilled with receiving that bumper and having that person. The person with the bumper would then tug and wrestle with him with his precious bumper all the way back to where I was standing. So we would teach him, you need to get your handler to where the bumper is. So we connected that up and we did so many repetitions of that. And then what would happen is we had to teach him to speak, to tell me. Another handler had warned me that, hey, some people teach their dog to sit or to down when they find what they're looking for, and that is not a good idea if you end up searching for a lost person in the forest in the dark, because your dog may be off and they may find the person, but if it's pitch black out and your dog is 100 meters away, and they're just silently sitting with the person they've found, you're never going to know where they are. So I took that to heart, and we decided to go ahead with him using a bark as an alert that he had found what he needed. So we trained that next into it. So when the volunteer would shake the bumper and they'd go off and hide, and I'd let him go find them, what they would do then is they would hold the bumper and say, "Speak, buddy, speak." So he would have to find them and sit and speak. And once he barked, then the games began, and the wrestling and the tug of war. So he learned very quickly, hey, I get to find this person, I get to bark and tell the world that I won this game. And that's how we taught him search and rescue. So alongside teaching him to search, we wanted to make sure that his social skills were absolutely perfect. Because when you have someone who's lost in the woods, they might be cold, they might be sick, they might be really at end of life. We want to make sure, that the dog is safe with the people and that the dog is able to be friendly at all times. So what we did was we started doing programs in the local community where we would go out and do little dog agility shows for people and obedience shows where we would demonstrate all of Duke's fantastic skills that he had learned in obedience and agility class. And we went to kids festivals and things like that, put on our little dog show for everybody. And he became so thrilled with all of the affection and attention. And he was just the safest dog around people because he just loved, they all brought him treats. And it was just a really wonderful and highly controlled experience so that I could make sure for him it was positive to always find people that he didn't particularly know, strangers, you name it, children, elderly. I wanted him to make sure that he felt safe and that he could be friendly and careful with these people as well. So that happened alongside the search training. So when it came to handler education, it was important for me to learn what my dog's body language was. If you watch your dog in the field, you can sort of tell just by the way they're behaving whether or not they've found a really interesting scent that they're determined to check out and and go after, or if they're just having fun and they're chasing a ball and they're just kind of fun and fancy free. There's a very big difference to your dog's body language given those two things. So I had to learn, when was Duke just checking out the closest gopher hole, or when was he actually on a scent and I needed to pay attention and make sure I kept up and was very aware of what he was up to. When we're having so much fun and I feel like we're making progress and we're doing well, and then I kind of get this sort of, I watch him and I see his behavior change a little bit. And it was the hardest thing for me to realize, you know what, I think he just smells a really awesome gopher over there and he's not on the scent anymore. You do have to be reliable to your team, and they trust you to know your dog and to say, you know what, I'm not sure if my dog's on the scent anymore. And the reason that becomes a big thing is because dogs do get tired. They're using a ton of their mental energy and stamina trying to decipher all that scent in the ground and in the air, and they're taking in all of that sort of stimulus overload in a strange environment they've never been in, and they're listening to you, and they usually can hear other people around. So there's sort of an overload happening, and you need to be very aware of when your dog kind of taps out mentally and they just need a bit of a break. Better that than to lead a whole search team in the wrong direction for an hour and a half because you're like, oh, it'll be fine. What if you're pulling them away from where that lost person is? So Duke and I progressed. We increased his agility training as well, so that if he needed to get over a backyard fence, he could while searching, or a large fallen log out in the forest. He was doing so well. It came to the point where the group that I was training with, it was a sort of a community group, a city search and rescue. They recommended that I consider trying out for the RCMP, that's the Royal Canadian Mounted Police dog search team. They do have their own volunteer team that they use for all of the rural searches. And they do their own training as well. So they encouraged me to check that out and to look into that as an alternative opportunity for Duke and I, because we were so committed and we were We were such a great team, and we both loved it so much. I mean, Duke, on those training mornings, those Saturday, Sunday morning training days, Duke knew just the way I rolled out of bed whether or not I was going to train. And the minute he figured out if we were training, I couldn't even get him to go outside to go to the bathroom. He just wanted to get in the car. Like, I need to get in the car. I need to get there as fast as possible. This is the best thing that's ever happened, and I have to get there. And I was thinking, just pee, buddy. Like, just pee first. Why not? So I decided to go ahead and do the whole tryouts for the RCMP team, as did a few other handlers that were with the group that I initially started with. And that's when things changed some. Duke was awesome. He responded to all of the handlers' requests. We did everything with flying colors. He was the best behaved dog there. There were some other dogs there that were extremely aggressive. I was actually afraid for Duke's well-being for a while. I didn't really want to get too close to them. I was relatively shocked that they were also there, but that they were allowed to be there. It seems kind of counterintuitive having aggressive dogs out to save people, but at any rate, there were a lot of discussions. It was a 3-hour tryout, and at the end of the day, the officers running that team pulled me aside, and they were very complimentary. They said, "Your dog is great. He does everything we want him to do. You're a great handler. You have the skills and you know your dog." And then came that big but. But we had a dog recently on our team that we invested a lot of time and money and training into. That was also a golden retriever. And the dog gave us 2 years of service, and then he ended up with cancer. And we're concerned that there's a lot of cancer in golden retrievers. So unfortunately, we don't feel that it's wise to invest the training in your dog just in case he only gives us 2 years of service. And that broke my heart. You know, I can fix training issues. I can fix socialization issues. I can improve just about everything, but I can't change your age or my dog's age. I can't make him any younger or older than he is, and I can't change what he is. I can't change the way Mother Nature made him. That's part of what makes him great at what he does. So that was a heartbreaking end to our search and rescue career. We then pivoted and went into therapy dog work because he was such a good boy and he was so great. So we ended up going to the school for high school final exam, diploma exams. We would help the kids de-stress right before exam time. We would do reading programs at the elementary schools, things like that. So that's unfortunately the end of our search and rescue time. Duke was a champ. He was a prince. He did everything. So I just thought it would be fun to share my search and rescue dog training story with you. Have you tried search and rescue, or do you have some fun special doggy careers that you've worked on with your dog, or have you had that ultra super special bond with an animal? Drop it in the comments below. If you like this story, please consider subscribing. It helps me out a ton. And thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video.